Hey guys, Dimension Master Studios here, how y'all doing? So I'm sure as you guys know, recently we got some brand new sets revealed for part 2 of Season 2 of Dragons Rising. And when it comes to these sets, we've seen a lot of different things in them. However, one of the big things that people are talking about when it comes to these sets is the reveal of Paleman and Tox being in these sets. Paleman and Tox were two of the Elemental Masters that we met back during Season 4, and we haven't seen either one of them in a very long time. But as we can see with these sets, these two are going to be showing up at some point during Part 2 of Season 2 of Dragons Rising, and honestly, this is something that I am really looking forward to. So in today's video, I want to talk about Paleman and Tox returning in Dragons Rising, and why this is something that I'm really looking forward to. So, let's get into this whole thing. So, before we actually talk about these two being in Dragons Rising, I feel like it's important if we take a look at these two characters during Season 4 and Season 9, the two seasons of the show where these two were in it. So, like I said, when it comes to Paleman and Tox, the two of them were both Elemental Masters that we met during Season 4, with Paleman being the Elemental Master of Light, which gave him the ability to turn invisible. Meanwhile, when it comes to Tox, she was the Elemental Master of Poison, and she had the ability to create poisonous gas clouds. And when it came to Paleman and Tox, we didn't really see that much of them during the events of Season 4, although admittedly Paleman did get a bit more because he lasted longer in the tournament compared to most of the other Elemental Masters, and he was a part of the alliance that the Ninja and some of the other Elemental Masters formed during the tournament. Meanwhile, when it came to Tox, she didn't really get that much overall when it came to Season 4, but the two of them, again, were both Elemental Masters during the season, and the two of them both ultimately fought alongside the Ninja against Chen during the events of the season. Then we never saw the two of them for a while until Season 9, when the two of them did finally return, and in this season, once again, neither of them really got that much, although yet again, Paleman did get a bit more with him going along with the rest of the Elemental Masters and Lloyd when they made their way to Borg Tower. Meanwhile, when it came to Tox, yet again, she didn't really get that much. She did finally get some lines, which is something that I think is cool, but that was about it. So in terms of stuff that these characters actually ended up getting, again, neither one of them really got that much. And as for their personalities, yet again, there isn't really that much when it comes to either of them. Tox never really got anything during Season 4 or Season 9 when it comes to a personality, so there isn't that much to say about her in my opinion. Paleman, on the other hand, he did get a bit more when it came to Season 4, because as we saw during the earlier seasons, Paleman was kind of shy, which I feel does make some sense given that his elemental power gives him the ability to turn invisible, so I feel like him being shy is something that makes sense. And also something that we did kind of see during Season 4 and Season 9 was Paleman being a somewhat comedic character, with him having a couple of funny moments during these seasons. And when it comes to Paleman, he did get a bit more personality in comparison to most of the other Elemental Masters. And so that's basically everything when it comes to Paleman and Tox. The two of them were only in 2 seasons of the show, and neither of them really got that much, except for Paleman, who did get a little more, but even then it wasn't anything major, and that's pretty much it. But again, like I said, I'm honestly really looking forward to their return in Dragons Rising, and it's for a few different reasons, so now let's finally discuss that. So for starters, let's discuss one big reason why I'm really looking forward to Paleman and Tox's return, and that is the potential for the show to expand on their characters. This is something that I brought up a few times before, but something that I feel Ninjago was able to do a really great job at is taking characters who either didn't get that much character or that much to do in one season, and then in a later season, the show would expand on that character and give more stuff to that character, whether it was more things to do or more character development. It's something that I think is pretty interesting, and in my opinion, the best example of this would easily have to be Nelson. Nelson didn't really get that much during the events of Season 6, but I feel like Season 11, Seabound, and Crystallize were able to do a genuinely great job at expanding on Nelson's character and turning him into a legitimately compelling and interesting character. And honestly, Nelson is a character who I really like, and I do honestly want to make a video talking about him, so please let me know if you guys want me to make a video talking about Nelson, because I will do that. But again, like I said, I feel like Nelson is a really great example of the show taking a character who didn't get that much in one season, and then a later season would expand on that character, thus giving more stuff to that character and developing them more. And honestly, this is something that I really hope we get a chance to see during Season 2 of Dragons Rising with Paleman and Tox. We've already seen Season 2 do this kind of thing with Jordana and Bonsal, as the two of them never really got that much during Season 1 of Dragons Rising, yet I feel like Season 2 was able to do a really great job at expanding on their characters, and I hope that this is something that we get a chance to see with Paleman and Tox during Season 2. Now, as for what exactly Season 2 could do with their characters in particular, admittedly, that's something that I'm not super sure about. When it comes to Paleman, like I said, there was the shyness that we saw from him early on during Season 4, so maybe the show could potentially do something with that. And who knows, maybe something we could see with Paleman is him not invisible, because when it comes to Paleman, we only ever see him being invisible, so we don't actually know what he properly looks like, so who knows, maybe Season 2 of Dragons Rising could finally reveal that. And as for Tox, she didn't really have that much character or personality when it came to seasons 4 or 9, but honestly, I don't actually see this as a bad thing, because this means that when it comes to Tox, her character is essentially a blank canvas, meaning that the writers could basically do whatever they want with her return, which honestly, I think that means there's a lot of creative potential when it comes to Tox and what the show could potentially do with her, and is something that I'm honestly looking forward to. So again, a big reason why I'm really looking forward to Tox and Paleman's return is because of the possibility of the show potentially expanding on their characters. Moving on from this, another big reason why I'm really looking forward to Tox and Paleman's return is because we are finally getting the return of the Elemental Masters. Something that I and many other Ninjago fans have wanted to see for a very long time is the original Elemental Masters to finally return. The last time we ever saw the Elemental Masters was all the way back during Season 9, with a few exceptions, with Skylar making multiple appearances after this, and Karloff also made a brief cameo during Season 10. But again, when it comes to the Elemental Masters, we really haven't seen that many of them following the events of Season 9. So I think it's honestly really great that after all this time, the show is finally bringing back the Elemental Masters and doing something with them, because like I said, this is something that I and many other fans have wanted to see for a long time. But another big reason why I'm honestly really glad that we're seeing Paleman and Tox specifically return is that we're getting the return of some of the older Elemental Masters, and Skylar isn't one of the first ones that's being brought back. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not me saying that I don't like Skylar and I don't want to see her show up during Dragons Rising, because neither of those are true. I do like Skylar and I do want to see her show up at some point when it comes to Dragons Rising. However, I do honestly feel like when it comes to Skylar, I do feel like she has a tendency to take away the spotlight and the focus from the other Elemental Masters, because I feel like whenever the show does end up doing something with the Elemental Masters, Skylar is usually the one who ends up getting all the focus and stuff to do. Meanwhile, the rest of the Elemental Masters, by comparison, don't really get that much, if anything, and in some scenarios, Skylar will be the only Elemental Master to return, and none of the other members will show up. So I think it's honestly really great that when it comes to the show, again, they're not bringing back Skylar first, and instead they're bringing back some of the other Elemental Masters, so that way they can get their moment in the spotlight. Honestly, this is something that I think is really great, and it's another big reason why I'm really looking forward to Paleman and Tox returning, because again, we're seeing the older Elemental Masters show up again, and not only that, Skylar isn't the first one showing up again, meaning that other Elemental Masters can finally get their moments in the spotlight. Again, this is something that I think is pretty cool. And finally, there is one last major reason why I'm really looking forward to Paleman and Tox returning during Season 2 of Dragons Rising, and it is because we are finally getting more legacy characters returning. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but in my opinion, the merge essentially getting rid of all the old characters at the beginning of Dragons Rising, in my opinion, that was not a good idea, and it's something that I honestly really did not enjoy, because I feel like there were so many characters in the franchise who either never had satisfying conclusions to their stories, they were left with pretty ambiguous endings, or there were a lot of characters that still had the potential for more stories to be told with them, yet the merge essentially got rid of all these old old characters, and at this point we have literally no idea when or even if the old characters are going to show up during Dragons Rising. Not only that, but I also think it's kind of unfair to the people who do like the older characters and the people who want to see more stuff with them. But again, as a result of the merge, that kind of thing is less likely to happen. And again, it may not ever happen at this point because again, we have literally no idea when or even if the old characters are going to show up during Dragons Rising. So I do honestly think it's great that when it comes to Season 2 of Dragons Rising, we are seeing more legacy characters showing up. That's already something that I think is really, really great. But another big reason why I'm really glad that we're getting the return of these legacy characters in particular is because we are specifically getting old elemental masters back. So, something that I brought up in a few of my videos that I really haven't been enjoying when it comes to Dragons Rising is this era of the show essentially replacing a lot of the old characters with brand new characters, with the new characters getting the powers of old characters. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, but this is something that I honestly really don't like. Mainly because the show already had these characters who either had certain powers or they had a certain role when it comes to the show, yet Dragons Rising is basically introducing us to these new characters who are just meant to act as replacements for the older characters. And again, this is something that I don't like, mainly because I think it's kind of pointless because again, the show already had these characters, so why are we being introduced to replacement characters? In my opinion, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, like I said earlier, I also think this isn't really fair for the people who do like the older characters and the people who want to see more stuff with them. And now that kind of thing is less likely to happen, or it may not even happen at all, because again, we're being introduced to the replacements for these characters. And so again, I'm honestly really glad that when it comes to Paleman and Tox, this is not the case, and instead of the show replacing the two of them, instead the show is choosing to bring them back. This is something that I honestly really like, especially since if we were to get a new Master of Light and Poison, this would mean that the show would have to kill off Paleman and Tox in order to introduce us to those new characters. And this is by far the biggest reason why I don't like Cinder, because as I brought up on multiple occasions, he's a permanent reminder that the show killed off an old character just to introduce that character's replacement. And again, it's definitely the biggest reason why I don't like Cinder. So I'm honestly really glad that the show isn't doing that again, and instead of killing off Paleman and Tox, instead the show is bringing them back and doing more stuff with them. And honestly, again, I am really, really glad that the show is doing this kind of thing. And like I brought up during my review of part 1 of Season 2 of Dragons Rising, this is what I honestly wished happened with Ash instead of the show killing him off and then introducing a replacement character. Although it does lead me to wonder if the show is going to be bringing back 2 of the old elemental masters, then why did the show kill off one of the old elemental masters and introduce a replacement instead of just bringing back another elemental master? Again, why bring back some elemental masters but kill off another one just to introduce that character's replacement? In my opinion, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because the old elemental master was still around and you could still do stuff with Ash. So again, why kill him off and introduce his replacement, especially since, again, the show's going to be bringing back other elemental masters. And again, in my opinion, that's something that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But again, like I said, I am honestly really glad that when it comes to the show, it's bringing back more legacy characters, and it's bringing back more of the old elemental masters, instead of just killing them off and introducing their replacements. Again, it's something that I honestly really like. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. When it comes to Paleman and Tox, even though we don't really have that great of an idea as to what exactly is going to be happening with these two during part 2 of Season 2, other than them presumably being a part of the Tournament of Sources and that's it, I am honestly really looking forward to their return when it comes to the show. Because again, I think this would be a great opportunity for the show to expand on their characters. I think it's great that we're getting the Elemental Masters back. And again, Skylar isn't one of the first ones to show up, because this means that other Elemental Masters can get their moment in the spotlight. And again, I'm just honestly really glad that the show is bringing back more legacy characters and doing more stuff with them, rather than just replacing releasing them. And honestly, I hope that when it comes to Dragons Rising going forward, we do get more of the legacy characters showing up again. It's something that I and many other fans really want to see. And I am honestly hoping that when it comes to Season 2 of Dragons Rising, this does basically act as the starting point of Dragons Rising starting to bring back more of the legacy characters that fans want to see. It's something that I really want to see. I know that a lot of other fans really want to see this. And again, I just hope that when it comes to Season 2, again, this season acts as the starting point of more of the legacy characters showing up again. And just, again, I'm honestly really happy that Paleman and Tox are going to be returning, and I genuinely can't wait to see what we're going to be getting with these two during Season 2 of Dragons Rising. And so that's all I got for you guys. So tell me down below what do you guys think. Tell me, what are your guys' thoughts on Paleman and Tox returning? Again, tell me down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. Later, guys. This is Dimension Master Studios, signing off.